Well, we've all heard the starving artist trope about how you're only a credible artist if you are not doing so well, and the moment that you get any kind of success, then you must be a sellout. I think you can guess what my opinion on that is. So can you do both? Can you be a credible artist and maker and a successful business owner? Well, obviously, I think you can. There you go, that's the end of the video. But first, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hello, I'm Kim. Welcome back. If you are a regular to this nonsense, welcome. If you're new, this is the Coffee and Craft podcast where I rock up, drink coffee, sometimes craft, keep you company while you work or craft, and talk about all things to do with running a handmade business. And today the topic is finding that balance between creativity and the business aspect to running a business that we as makers and artists often have to deal with. So let's crack on, shall we, once I've finished getting myself comfortable. Oh, my knees are not going to thank me once I've finished this video, but we're comfy, so let's dive in. Okay, I've made notes. I've even used a highlighter today. It's very pretty. And the first note that I have here is the starving artist myth, or that starving artist trope that I just talked about, and what a load of hoo-ha that is. I mean, you know the old trope where you've got some sort of deep, dark and mysterious tortured artist who usually drinks too much or smokes too much or has some kind of vice, and nobody understands them and their art, and they don't sell, and anybody who does better than them, they're a sellout, and they're better. And even growing up, I used to sort of see these characters and think that they just seem very bitter, and I've never liked it. I've always thought, well, why can't you do both? And it had a feeling of, what's that analogy? The crabs in a bucket. If one of the crabs starts climbing out of the bucket, the other crabs will drag it back in, which incidentally I don't think is correct. I think the crabs are actually just holding on to that other crab to try and use it as leverage to also get up. I think all the crabs are trying to escape. But people use that analogy to describe people who will drag you down the moment that they see you rising up. Tall poppy syndrome. Where are we? How did we get here? No, but I have got it in my notes. I am trying to stay on topic. Crabs in a bucket. Yeah, I think that the starving artist trope, it's kind of a useful way to make yourself feel better, I guess, when comparison sets in and you're looking at your competition and they're doing better. Sometimes it's easier to say, well, I'm more creative and they've just sold out. It's uncomfortable, but I kind of want to do a video on that actually, about the uncomfortable feelings that can crop up as handmade business sellers. But I probably should focus on this one first. The point that I'm trying to get to is that we should stop romanticising the struggle. It doesn't make us more of an artist than someone who isn't struggling as much. There, that's the point I'm trying to make. That was only one line. Okay, we need to crack on, otherwise we're going to be here forever. People who are successful are no less creative. They've just found a way to leverage their creativity into making products that other people want. So they've basically just found that balance between their creativity and demand. That's clever. Sometimes I get that right, sometimes I don't, but I'm not always clever. I am more than happy to admit that. And also, one last thing, I would argue that financial stability actually gives you room to be more creative, because how much more creative can you be when you can relax into it knowing that your bills are being paid? Because I don't know about you, my creativity shrivels up into a dry husk when all I'm focusing on is like, oh my god, how am I going to pay the mortgage this month? Yeah, it's not very conducive to creativity. Whereas the months that I know that I have the bills paid, I can relax into it, and guess what? Ideas. So many ideas, not enough time. That's a video for another day. I'm going to get back to this one again. So the trick basically is to align our creativity with profit. I know, it sounds so easy, but I've said this before, and I remember getting a little bit of pushback on it because I think it hit a nerve with some people, but it always starts with your product. Because if you are looking to sell your work online or anywhere, you are automatically a business. You are automatically trying to sell. So the business aspect, you can't just do away with that. And if you want to sell your work, then you need to make sure that you are selling it to people who will want it. You need to make sure there's a demand for it. Otherwise, you might not sell it because people might not want it. So it does always come back to your products. And what happens as makers and creators is that we can fall into the trap of making the thing that we want to make and then looking for our customers afterwards. Whereas with business, it always starts with the customer and you are trying to figure out what their problem is and to find a solution for it. Well, that's kind of easy to do if you're making something that's more of a need. Like if you have a car, you have a need for petrol, and if you live in a place where there's nowhere to get petrol, then your customer has a need for petrol. So you could start a business as a petrol station. All very well and good if you want to sell petrol, not so great if you're a creator. And our items tend to be more sort of the want variety. So figuring out what the problem bunny is a lot harder. But you do have to give it some thought. Because once you've sort of made that list of the things that your customers are actually looking to buy, what's in demand, if you've brain dumped an entire list of things, you can pick the ones that call out to you. I was going to say sing out to you, but same thing. And then find ways of putting your own creativity, your own stamp on them. That's how I come up with my products. Or most of them anyway, because this is the thing. What you want to aim for, or at least what I personally try to aim for, is a mix. You've got the people pleasers, the things that you know will sell well because they're in high demand, and they may not necessarily be your most creative items, but they keep the sales rolling in. There we go. And often I find that I sell my more creative, more slow-made, arty type things more if I also cater to my customers with people pleasers. They work together. I don't know what that is. I don't know why my hair's getting involved, but hopefully you catch my drift. Let's move on again. So that's the key. That's in a nutshell how I come at this problem, because it is difficult. But if you can align your creativity with what your customers want. Considering I made a video last week about what happens when your bestsellers stop selling, this I think is the natural progression onto that. You're trying to marry what your customers are after and find a way to incorporate your creativity into that. Now, another problem that is linked to this is the problem of time management, and this is something that I personally am struggling with a lot right now. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are working for me at the moment, but it's okay if this doesn't work for you, because the problem with time management advice is that everybody works differently, and the idea that there is this one way to manage your time that will be good for everyone is just rubbish. This will be the moment in the video where I say take what serves you and leave the rest. But block scheduling. Sorry, there is a fly buzzing around, and I swear if it comes near my face one more time, it's going to get smushed. What was I saying? Block scheduling, that was it. Dedicated time for certain things. So dedicated time for working on business type stuff, and then dedicated time to create. And I've spoken before about, another analogy is coming towards you, strap yourselves in, the car, and who's driving the car. You've got two people in the car, you've got your business self and you've got your creative self, and they're both trying to get into the driver's seat. But when you're doing business stuff, you need to let your creative person sit in the passenger seat, and they have to just be happy with the business version of you driving that car. But also when you are creating, the business side of you needs to, hair, getting involved again, and the creative side of you has to drive the car. You see what I mean? So when you are block scheduling your time, if you are doing a business thing, so then the creative person gets into the passenger side and then your business person is driving the vehicle, and you have to think with your business hat on and make your decisions from that point of view. I would say a business task would be researching products that are in demand with your ideal customer. Business person. The business person needs to drive the car at that point, not the creative person. The creative person's going to have a lot of input. They're going to have a lot of ideas. They're going to want to be in the driver's seat, but this is not the time. Once the business person has, let's just put that to one side for a second. Once you have your list of possible ideas, and then you want to choose which ones are in line with you and your creativity, that's when you switch them up. That's when your creative person comes in and that you just let them loose to do their magic. Do you see what I mean? I do hope so. Oh, that fly. It is going to be smushed before this video is out. And the other one was batching time. Now this one is a good one, especially if you're going through phases where you need to work more and faster so that you can reach a period where you can relax a little bit. Sometimes you have to go fast so that you can go slow later. It is a struggle though. I wouldn't say this is something that particularly comes naturally to me, but I have used it in the past and it has really worked. So there's been times where I knew things were going to be really, really busy and I would have less time to do my weekly things. So I would try and squeeze in a little bit more in the lead up to it so that I could batch content, for example, and keep things rolling over. But it meant that I was able to go slower later. Like I said, it's a challenge. I don't work naturally like that. Some people do. And if that's you, I think you're a superhero, because that, to me, I just can't switch my brain into that gear. But it is something that I'm going to be doing going forward, because I have plans afoot for December. So I'm going to have to go faster to go. I'm being a bit vague, but I will speak more on that in the very near future. Haha. And we'll move on. What have I got next here? It's not a perfect balance, and that's okay. Every handmade seller's idea of the perfect balance between creativity and business is going to be different, and that's okay. I've mentioned the imbalances and sometimes having to go faster so you can go slow later on. I mean, I myself am constantly struggling to find the perfect balance. I did think I was coming close to that around summertime. And then obviously if you've been following me here for a little while, you'll know I'm having to find my feet again. But you know, such is the life of a business owner, so it's okay. But for me personally, I am really drawn to the idea of block scheduling. I really work well with that, because otherwise if I'm torn in too many different directions, it's just a mess up here and I end up feeling very, very burnt out very quickly. So having the space and the time to focus on one thing at a time, it's just working well for me at the moment. It doesn't always, hasn't in the past. Sometimes I like to work on a lot of little things throughout the day, but right now I'm in my block scheduling era, so I'm embracing that. And also the batching, which I know I will benefit from, but I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to do it. We shall see. So, I'm almost afraid to ask, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with anything, everything I've said here, or do you think it's all hooey? And you're allowed to think it's hooey, by the way. Come and tell me in the comments, just be nice. Because if you're not, I'm going to put you in the bin, along with that frickin' fly. And if you have any tips yourself, please do share them, because I know that other people read the comments and it's just a way to help each other out. If we've got any kind of tips that work for us that you can share with other people, let's pay it forward. And also, I know that I'm an educational channel, I guess, although I don't see myself as one, because I see this as like my online community, and I feel that I learn as much from you guys as you do here. Wait. I missed it. I will get it. I will get it. Oh, if I've just caught that, that will be amazing. I got it! Mr. Miyagi! Wax off. Yeah, come chat to me in the comments. I did tell you it was going to be smushed by the end of the video. Haha! Right, if you are new here and you've made it to the end of this video and you're wondering if this mess is what's the norm here, yes it is. So to those of you who stick around week after week, thank you, I appreciate it. And we'll see if next week I can get through the video without killing any not so innocent bugs. And I'll see you then. Ta-ra.